maybe this could be a dream that could be achieved. Is this something that we could achieve as a country?
Absolutely. And I'll go back to exactly how we went on break, when we are intentional about it.
Right.
As long as we're intentional about it, I believe that as a country, and as I've seen what the government has tried to do. I'll tell you, for example, the maize yields this financial year, what we are milling today, for example. Last year, around the same time, we had issues. Remember, we were importing from Zambia across the border. But then today, in fact, I was worried that the prices of maize around now would be around 6,000 bob, 5,000 shillings. But actually, the fertilizer subsidy worked. We had more farmers encouraged to go to the farm.
Right.
Higher yields came out, and you can actually see that there was more productivity, and we've reduced, importers of maize as a country. Right. In fact, as it stands today, we've not imported any maize coming from outside Kenya. Right. So that tells you, if we're intentional about what we want to do, then we can be able to do it. That growth in yield directly translates to what agriculture and agro-processing contributes to them, to the GDP of the country. Right. And it can be in different sectors, from dairy. I see we are very intentional now about cotton, for example. What I've said in the Galana Kulalu, for example, companies are now doing, I've seen a company that's just done a pilot of rice. Right. We import a lot of rice from Pakistan, I don't know where, but this company has just proven that we can be able to mill our own rice and actually do double yield compared to what is being yielded at, say, the parts that are growing rice today in Kenya. Right. If we're intentional like this, then that 20% cannot be a mirage. It can actually be a reality. And
concerted efforts are, of course, very, very important. Considering you've mentioned irrigation, irrigation is very important, considering we are about 75% arid and semi-arid. The places that have, that are high yielding are 16%, give or take, 15%, give or take. It's not enough.
Yeah.
It's not enough for us to be bragging. Let's just look through a few numbers here. We, of course, have that 80% of Kenya's population depends on agriculture, and only 16% of land is high to medium potential. And of course, agro-processing currently contributes to about 2.4% to national employment. And employment is very important, considering that in manufacturing, we do employ around 352,000 people directly. You can imagine the impact indirectly. Now, this number is still low, because if 80% of Kenya's population depends on agriculture and we only have 2.4%, nationally being employed, there's a huge discrepancy there. I'll start with you, Job. Why do you think we have a discrepancy?
The discrepancy comes in because basically in our value addition, we're doing what is called the last mile value addition. Because 60% of the products that we are working on, or 60% of our inputs, they are imported. We are looking at how we can reverse that and have more of local sourcing. Right. And that's the reason why the government has been talking about value chain integrations. If you look at Cabinet Dispatch of 27th April 2023, it has 9 value chains that the government is intervening on. And it is in those value chains, then we do agro-processing, that we are going to see a reverse on the statistics that you're showing here. Right. Whereby, if you're talking about the jobs in agro-processing, growing from the 2.4% of the national employment to higher than that, because when you look at the comparative advantage of the country, we are an agrarian nation. Right. So we need to have better figures, more than the 2% of the national employment. Right. So the Cabinet Dispatch is looking at like now the cotton to value chain, cotton to fashion value chain. It's looking at hide and skin to leather products value chain. It's looking at dairy. It's looking at edible oils, building, mining and construction equipment and whatnot. So when you consider that, and then we do value chain integration from where production is happening and where now the value addition is happening, these numbers are going to increase. Right,
and of course, if you look into the global markets, you will realize that there is a lot of demand for Kenyan produce, and we do export it in raw form. However, if we did a little bit of processing, we could bump up, the prices by at least 70%. Joseph, what do you think about this?
Well, I think, Job has put it quite well. I pick up from what you just said, a lot of value addition for us. I'll take, for example, tea is one of my subsectors at CAM. And I think we're only value adding 3%?
3%.
3%. Can you imagine?
Can you imagine?
So we're taking 97% raw. Ask yourself, if that 97% was actually value added, or even just half of that value added here in the country, how many jobs will we create as a nation? You know, how much more value would that farmer get at the end of the day? You know.